The biggest threat to the nation's security is the deficit problem and the debt problem. So that's one I think both papers agree with. You all correct me if I'm wrong. The second point I think they both agree with is that reform in defense within the defense budget is just as important as the top line. Both are important, but both have to be addressed. It's not just how much the top line is, it's what you do within the defense budget. And the third point I think both agree on, and that is the sequester is not the way to cut. It's the worst possible way. Erskine Bowles said the other day it's stupid, and it is. I think it is really counterproductive. If you gave the defense the same numbers but gave them 10 years to do it and a lot of flexibility, it makes an enormous difference what comes out at the end of that 10 years, even if you come out with the same basic dollars. The fourth point I think there's agreement on in both papers is that the personnel costs are unsustainable. We've already talked about that. That has to be known. That has to be a matter of education. If it's not, changes are not going to happen. And the next point is, and Michelle would have a little different view on this, but both papers indicate that force size has got to be reduced, the size of the forces. You can quarrel about how you take the cuts, which services, but overall you can't have the same number of people that you have now and meet these budget requirements. The next point I think there's agreement on, and I think we should not neglect this one in the debate and discussion because I think it's going to have to be a national understanding on this, much more so. And that is that we're going to have a more prudent and more restrained decision-making in terms of commitment of military forces to solve problems around the world. We simply cannot continue to make the kind of decisions we've made in the last 10 to 20 years. And finally, on the positive side, if we're smart, I think both papers indicate if we're smart, we should be able to retain the strongest and most capable military in the world. But both papers assume policymakers will make the tough decisions. That's another assumption of both papers. That is not automatic. And without leadership, that's not going to happen.